Hello, students. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered how a giant tree standing tall in your neighborhood manages to stay upright and full of life? Of course, its trunk looks strong, but the real heroes are hidden underground, the roots. Roots don't just fix the plant in the soil like anchors holding a ship, they are also the plant's lifelines. Imagine them as the invisible straws constantly pulling in water and nutrients to keep the entire plant alive. Without them, no leaf could stay green, no flower could bloom, and no fruit could ripen. Look at this diagram. Notice how the roots spread into the soil and supply the entire plant. Amazing, isn't it? Now, let's dive into the most important function of roots. Beyond support, their true life-saving role is absorption. Roots continuously draw in water from the soil. Along with water, they also take in essential mineral nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and many more, which are absolutely vital for plant growth. These absorbed substances travel upward through the stem, reaching the leaves for photosynthesis and moving into flowers and fruits to support reproduction and storage. Imagine what would happen if roots stopped absorbing water, plants would wilt, leaves would droop, and the entire system would collapse. This is why damaged roots often mean weak or stunted plants. Let's zoom in and see how water actually enters the plant. The real work is done by fine, thread-like structures called root hairs. These root hairs press tightly against soil particles, which are covered by a thin film of water. And here comes the beautiful science, osmosis. Water moves naturally from a region of higher concentration in the soil to a region of lower concentration inside the root hair cell. It's like water finding its way where it is needed most. Once inside, this water passes cell by cell through the root cortex until it reaches the xylem, the pipeline that will carry it upward. See this diagram? Notice the osmotic movement from soil into the root hairs. Isn't it fascinating how such a tiny structure sustains an entire tree? Water is essential, but what about food? Plants cannot simply survive on water alone. They also need minerals, nitrates, phosphates, potassium ions dissolved in soil water. But here's the twist. Unlike water, many of these minerals move into the root not by osmosis but by active transport. That means root cells actually spend energy in the form of ATP or adenosine triphosphate to pump these ions against their concentration gradient. It's like climbing uphill with effort. This effort ensures the plant gets the right minerals for making chlorophyll, building proteins, and growing healthy tissues. This is why farmers enrich soil with fertilizers. They are basically supplying the minerals that roots will absorb and send upward. Now, once water and minerals are inside the root, where do they go? They need to reach the stem, the leaves, and eventually the flowers and fruits. This journey happens through the xylem vessels. Imagine them as tiny pipelines running through the root and stem. Three forces help push the flow upward: root pressure, capillary action, and the most powerful, transpiration pull created by evaporation of water from leaves. All these processes ensure that every leaf receives the water to photosynthesize and every flower and fruit gets the nutrients to develop. Take a look at this pathway diagram: root hairs absorbing, water moving through the cortex, entering the xylem, and rising upward. Isn't it elegant how nature has designed this transport system? Let's explore why this process is so critical with real examples. Think about plants growing in salty soil or coastal areas. If too much salt surrounds the roots, it disrupts normal water absorption, and root cells may even lose water, a process called plasmolysis. That's why many plants cannot survive in salty conditions. On the other hand, in droughts, when there is too little water in the soil, roots cannot absorb enough. The result is wilting. But desert plants, or xerophytes, have evolved brilliantly. They send roots deep or spread them wide to capture even the smallest drop of water. In agriculture, we solve these challenges through irrigation and soil management, ensuring roots remain healthy absorbers. So, whether it's a desert cactus or your paddy field, root absorption truly decides plant survival. Let's connect everything we've learned. Roots don't just anchor a plant, they are its lifeline. They absorb water by osmosis and minerals through active transport. These absorbed substances are then transported via xylem to stems, leaves, flowers, and fruits. Without efficient roots, no plant could survive, and without plants, no ecosystem would thrive. So, the next time you see a tall, shady tree, remember, it's the silent, tireless work of its roots that makes all this beauty possible. Isn't that simply wonderful? Biology truly reveals the hidden marvels of life. I hope you now appreciate how intricate and vital root absorption is. Until our next session, keep observing the living world around you, because every green leaf, every drop of sap is telling the story of life itself.